Good morning, everyone. Please join us as we sing our opening song, Om Shanti. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Peace inside my mind, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my mind, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside my mind, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my mind, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Peace inside my earth, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside the earth, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside the earth, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside the earth, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Om Shanti Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. 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 Om Shanti Om.
Let's take a moment to look at this week's announcements. Join us on Mondays for a lesson in meditation or just to spend some time in consciousness with Reverend Rich. Let's spill the tea with Reverend Rich and Alicia Pacheco as they tackle our younger generation's questions and serve up a spiritual solution that crosses generations on Tea Time Truth Talks. Wisdom Wednesday with Reverend Rich helps keep us spiritually fed and consciously growing with a midweek boost. Next week we continue our 4-part talk on a positive path to spiritual living. What exactly is it?
Hey, good morning and welcome to our first celebration service with our spiritual community this morning. My name is Reverend Richard Pacheco. Many call me Rev Rich, and I am so glad for you being here today. Trust me when I say I've missed speaking to you and inspiring people through words. It was the gift that I always said I had. I do miss, having the audience in front of me. So when a family friend came to us and said, was something happening? Are we doing anything? And I explained situations and she was like, well, are you going to do something? It came as not only a surprise, but a present. So I'm truly grateful for her and her family, and she knows who she is if she's watching. So my deepest gratitudes. But what makes it even funnier is when I finally went and told my daughter the idea, she literally looked at me and said, I thought you would have done it already. So that just solidified and put a stamp that I needed to get something done. And I want to give, thanks to all my mentors and people I know throughout Unity who also encouraged me to get this started and at least a venue of a Sunday celebration service. So with that being said, as we are here, we have the chat going. Go ahead and let us know that you're here. Just say hello. If you have a prayer request or any questions, put them in the chat. We'll definitely get back to you with them. And I'm just glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're watching us live or you're watching us later. Doesn't matter. As long as the message sits true to you and we can put that into practice in our lives, because I know that the Unity teachings that I have received have changed my life tremendously. And being a reverend now is even more humbling because now I feel like I can share that with you. But always a student, remember that. Constantly learning, constantly wanting to share with you. So with that being said, let us go ahead and open up in prayer. And I ask you to join me here as we take a deep breath and center into this moment, releasing all of yesterday and all of that anxiety tomorrow, and know that we are in the presence of love, joy, and peace that we know as God. It is the good in our lives. It is the divinity which flows in and through us and everyone around us. We know through this oneness, we are divinely called to this place to hear the message, to share in the joy, to share in the music, and to know that we are spiritually uplifted. Most importantly, through our teachings, we also know that it is for us to take and practice in our lives, knowing that our lives will be that much better each step we take. And each bridge we cross, we know that we are that much closer to our true selves, knowing that we are truly divine and we are a gift to each other. So let us celebrate together today our individuality, those gifts that were given to us, that we are to share with each person, knowing that we bless each one as we reach each one. So today I say thank you, as we know this celebration service has already worked in somebody's heart. It is already working through our communities, and knowing that we are blessed to have this opportunity with you. And we know that all that we wish this to be has already been done, because we said it is and so it is, and we let it be. And we affirm this prayer with an amen, ashe, and so mote be. And as we release this prayer, we are grateful and know that more and more people are calling for our teachings as we move into a world that needs these prayers and needs our affirmativeness in love, joy, and peace to spread throughout the world. So with that, let us move back into our music piece as Alicia continues to lead us in song.
Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing sing. God is where I dance. Joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing free. In and out and through me, has me. Where I down, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer. Here and now, forever and ever and ever. Truth is where I work. Love is my career. Where I play, God is playing boldly. In and out and through me, has me. Where I am, where I stand, where I play, where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and live. God is, joy is, love is, God is. And for today's reading from the book Release and Renew 2022, A Spiritual Practice for Lent, Sunday, March 27th, 2022, Cultivating Order, by Reverend Linda Martella Wassett. When we have been planning and our plans turn out well, we may be tempted to think it must be in divine order. When we don't understand why something unwanted has happened, we may be tempted to think it must be in divine order. Divine order, however, is never a preordained or imposed condition. Divine order is a principle and a power, our spiritual capacity of orderly action, mental adjustment, and spiritual evolution. We name it divine because God is the organizing principle found in the structure, pattern, and sequence inherent in all that is, all that exists, and is created. We are fully human and fully divine. The more we attune to our divine identity, realizing oneness with God, the more readily we increase our innate capacity for spiritual or divine order. Orderly thought and action flow from a mind centered in divinity, absent the fluctuations natural to human-centric thinking. We think creatively, more aware, and infinite divine ideas. We catch hold of a divine idea that may arise as a career goal or a condition ripe for healing or a deep desire. We nourish that idea with prayer, research, and action steps. That divine idea eventually flourishes and blossoms into manifestation and fulfillment of our capacity for orderly thought and action. In The Revealing Word, Unity Books, 1959, Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore defines the order this way. The divine idea of order is the idea of adjustment, and as this is established in human thought, our mind and affairs will be at one with universal harmony. We find empowerment and freedom in our ability to adjust, shift, flip a switch, transform, or modify our thought and action. Think of a time your flight got canceled at the last minute. Recall that varying reactions among travelers, those who loudly protested and those who quietly altered their plans. Think about other times when our plans were interrupted or changed. Remember when you successfully adjusted your thought and action in such a way that you established order in the midst of changing conditions. You demonstrated the adjusting power of order. By acknowledging God, the organizing principle, and exercising our rightful power of divine order, we evolve. We can look back today and notice our progress through time. As with any consistent practice, our effort to cultivate order increases our access to the principle and our ability to embody the organizing, adjusting, and evolving power of order. By the power of order, I am capable of orderly thought and action. I easily adjust thought and action in response to shifting circumstances. I am ever evolving spiritually. When I was a girl each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Yeah. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Yeah. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely went my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath, 'cause I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world out there, heaven second-rate, hand-me-down. But I walk it with the reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Yeah. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scriptured verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Yeah, everything, every little thing, everything is holy now. Yeah, everything is holy now. Yeah.
Everything's a miracle.
Everything is holy now.
Everything is holy now.
Everything's a miracle.
Everything's a miracle.
Everything is holy now.
Everything is holy now.
Everything's a miracle.
Everything's a miracle.
Everything is holy now. Everything's a miracle. Everything is holy now. Everything's a miracle. Everything is holy now.
Hey, as always, just wanted to welcome you back here, and I hope you enjoyed the music and you enjoyed the reading. Again, we put in a lot of effort, and Alicia lending her vocals, so I hope you truly tuned into the music and heard, the enthusiasm in her voice as well as it moved your spirit. So we're working into a positive path to spiritual living, and I'm sure that you guys, if you're at any Unity or you happen to be in the Unity NEPA family, I remember the branding was brought up a number of years ago, and the tagline was a positive path to spiritual living. Now, we chalked it up, or at least I did, chalked it up to just a tagline, and it sounded great, And many years later, I was introduced to a talk, and it made me think, what exactly is a positive path to spiritual living? What does that have to do with anything other than that we throw the word around, positive paths and spiritual livings? So for the next 4 weeks, this is what we're going to investigate together as well as talk about it. So today we know our talk is called It's All Consciousness. So let me start with a story here. And it is a woman went to her hairdresser getting her hair cut and styled before leaving for a trip to Rome. She mentioned how excited she was about the trip to the hairdresser, who responded, "Rome? I was once excited about going there too. But then I went. It was crowded and dirty and people were so unfriendly. You're crazy to go to Rome, so how are you getting there?" "Oh, only the best." "We're flying American Airlines," was the reply. "We got a great rate." "American!" exclaimed the hairdresser. "That's a terrible airline. I've flown American many times, and the planes are old, their flight attendants are rude, and they're always late. So where are you staying in Rome?" "Well, we'll be at a beautiful hotel called the Visconti Palace. It will be paradise." "Don't go any further," said the hairdresser. "I know that place. I stayed there. Everybody thinks it's going to be something special and exclusive, but when it's really a dump. The worst hotel in the city. The rooms are small, the service is surly, and they're overpriced. So what you going to do when you get there?" "We're going to the Vatican. My goal is to see the Pope." "That's rich," said the hairdresser. "You and a million other people are trying to see him. He'll look like the size of an ant, and at least how he looked when we visited the Vatican. Boy, good luck on this lousy trip of yours. You're going to need it. A month later, the woman again came in for a cut and style. The hairdresser asked her about the trip to Rome. So explained the woman to her, it was wonderful. Rome is a magical place, and not only were we on time in one of our Americans' brand new planes, but it was also overbooked. So they bumped us up to first class. The food and the wine were wonderful, and I had a handsome 28-year-old steward wait on me hand and foot. And then the hotel was great. They had just finished a $5 million remodeling job, and now it's the Jewel, the finest hotel in the city. They too were overbooked, so they apologized and gave us their owner's suite at no extra charge. Well, muttered the hairdresser, that's all well and good, but I know you didn't get to see the Pope. Actually, I did. As we toured the Vatican, a Swiss guard tapped me on the shoulder and explained that the Pope likes to meet some of the visitors, and if I'd be so kind as to step into the private room and wait, the Pope would personally greet me. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, the Pope walked through the door and shook my hand. I knelt down and he spoke a few words with me. Oh, really? What did he say? He said, where'd you get that lousy haircut? So again, here's where consciousness comes in. You may have laughed or you may have been like, oh, Lord, where did that joke come from? But that's what it is. It is all consciousness. One person had a ruined experience. Another person had a wonderful experience. And their consciousness led them down the path of where they knew they wanted to go. So it really is all consciousness. Our life unfolds according to the consciousness we bring to it. Clearly, the consciousness of the hairdresser and the consciousness of the customer were two different worlds apart. They were so far apart that their experiences were even different. But let's go ahead and look at the dictionary's version of what consciousness is. So the dictionary has it as either one, the quality or state of being, of awareness, especially of something within ourselves, or the upper level of mental life of which people is aware as contrasted or unconscious processes. So when we talk about being in the right consciousness, this is what we're talking about. See, I've been with a lot of groups and I've done a lot of things, and I can tell you that consciousness can either break or make the success of a group, can make or break the success of a family, make or break the success of a relationship, because it's what we bring, our belief systems and things like that. And we're going to get into that. See, when we talk about consciousness, many times in Unity, we talk about the 4 levels of consciousness. We talk about, victim consciousness, which is everything's happening to me. Victor consciousness is that it's because of me. We have vessel consciousness, which is through me. And then finally, verily consciousness, which is me. Now, those 4 you will find during our metaphysical training, especially using heart-centered metaphysics as your guide. And that's something we can talk about later. But today, what I want to concentrate on is what is consciousness, as well as what makes up our consciousness to get us to where we're going to be. So consciousness means the totality of our beingness that we bring to the table of our lives. I felt it consistent of the 5 elements that combine to comprise our consciousness, then added 6, 7, and now 8. So when we were taught the levels of what exactly is consciousness, it started off as a few, but has now grown to 8 different things that make up our consciousness. So again, this will be high level. We want you to get an understanding of what consciousness is and how we use it. So we have a lot to get through, so let's jump right in there. And the first one is thought. We know that thoughts create the thing. We know that in our principle number 2, our thoughts is what's important. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and philosopher, said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And we know that with new thought, whether it's Unity, CSL, doesn't matter what new thought community you're with, or even if you just read about new thought, that the ideas, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, always reminds us when we talk about prosperity that prosperity flow comes in the form of ideas, dreams that we must take action of. And there was a study done at Boston's Beth Israel Descansus Medical Center. Did a study on exactly this. So a team of researchers at Boston's Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center recruited 66 migraine headache patients in the attempt to qualify how much of their pain relief came from medication and how much was due to the placebo effect, which they defined as the healing power of positive thoughts. Here's how the study worked. First, the patients who suffered regular migraines agreed to forego pain relievers for several hours during one's attack, recording their symptoms for comparison for later headaches. Then each of the next 6 migraines, they were given a different pill inside of an envelope with a different message. Sometimes they were told it was an effective migraine drug called rizatriptan, pronounced rizatriptan, or other times they were told that it was a placebo, suggesting no benefit. Still, other times they were told the pill could be either one. And of course, what they were told on the envelope was not necessarily what was in the envelope. More than 450 headaches later, the surprise to the researchers, but not to us, was that the patients reports of pain relief was more than doubled when they were told the migraine drug was real and when they were told falsely that it wasn't. More than 400, in fact, people reported nearly as much pain relief when they took a placebo they thought was the real drug as they did when they took the real drug while believing it was fake. The lead researcher said, the more we give positive messages to our patients, the bigger the placebo effect was. And even in energy healing, we know that it works. But we counteract with our thoughts when we ourselves use an embedded belief to say that it doesn't or it's not real. Science, the first line of the Science and Mind book says, we all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. Well, there it is. We have a lot of scientific research, into energy healing, into our mental thoughts. And there are so many books out there and so many great luminaries that teach on that. Just get a subscription to Gaia and you can see a lot of them there, and they prove how science and mental thoughts come together so much. So we need to look at ourselves and say, can we be the consequence of our thoughts? A mentor once told me that everything that's happening to me right now was based on a decision I made 5 years ago. And as I look back on my life, I can definitely say that. I try not to label good and bad, but I can tell you that a lot of the successes that I've had for today are based on a decision that I may have made 5 or more years ago. And maybe some of the things that happen that may start as a success and I fail at, and we know I believe in failing forward, is based on a thought that I may have had 4 or 5 years ago. So let's take Emerson's advice where he says, stand guard the portals of your mind and allow only thoughts that support the life you desire to create. You are in charge of the real estate between your ears, and you really are. So let's continue to move on as we move into the second phase of our consciousness. So we know that thoughts is the initial phase. Well, we know that thoughts bring feelings, and that's number 2. The second element of consciousness is feeling. Our words are important, but the feelings behind them is what gives them juice. It's what gives them power. In Atom Smashing Power of the Mind by Charles Fillmore, he says, zeal is a great universal force that impels men to spring forward in a field of endeavor and accomplishes the seemingly miraculous. It is the inward fire that urges man forward. We had a discussion, I remember one time at our spiritual center, about the word fight. And a lot of people always put the word fight to the side because it meant that we were fighting against something. And I was like, no. I said, I want you to think of that carefully. The word that follows that word, action word, fight, is what makes the difference. See, if I'm fighting against something, then yes, as I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable to these principles, to put these into practice, But every time something comes in, a thought, an idea that says, this is what you're inspired to do, but I decide to fight against it, then yes, it becomes, my thoughts become my consequences. But if the feeling I have behind this idea is that even though I may be afraid, even though my faith may be tittering a little bit because this just seems a little out of the way, but I fight for that divine gift or that divine idea that's been given to me, then I'm going to, as Charles Fillmore says, spring forward in a field of endeavor and accomplish the seemingly miraculous. Powerful words again from the book Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. They gave a scale of emotions and suggested that at the bottom of the scale we are disconnected from our alignment and with our true nature, and therefore not creating a life of peace, fulfillment, and happiness for ourselves. And at the other end of the top, we are connected. So there's 22 levels to these scales. At the bottom of the scale was fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness, and at the top, at the bottom, and then in the middle was overwhelmment, which again, we're being overwhelmed by all feelings. And again, at the top of the list was joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation. They suggest that it may be challenging for us as humans to make the leap of several levels of the scale, but we can always go one or two. And if we shift our focus through what? Our thoughts, of course. And again, this goes back to the 4 levels of consciousness. We can start at victim consciousness. We can always fall down to victim consciousness. But our goal should always be to climb up, even if it's one step at a time, to truly show our divinity. Okay? The things that matter most is that you consciously reach for a feeling that is improved. So on a day-to-day level, ask yourself, how are you feeling? If you're waking up like Wayne Dyer says, and good God, it's morning, what do you think your feeling will be during the day? But if you take it and say, good morning, God, or whatever it is for you, you have a chance to bring that true joy into your life. So let's talk about 3, 4, and 5 as they can be defined quickly. Your belief, your values, and your attitude. So belief is our thoughts and feelings that we have accepted as truth, which may or may not actually be true. Our values are the things that we believe are important, and attitudes are our outlook on life based on our belief and our values. I've talked about this before in my talks, where the Dr. Reverend Johnny Coleman wrote a book about healing yourself, and she explained to me, and it was like a mind-blown moment when she said that when we refer to our heart, we're actually referring to our subconscious, and everything made sense to me then. Because all the studies I've done that talked about reprogramming your self-consciousness, because that is the filter that we receive our divinity, which comes out to our consciousness, which we express. So if our subconsciousness needs to be rewritten, then that's where we need to work. So we talk about a lot of examples. The author here uses the example of the flat earth, where even though it wasn't true, it was a healthy belief that was a vast majority of the population, which is their belief. And if someone valued life, which is their values, they wouldn't sail past the horizon. And if they did want to do that, like Columbus did, they were viewed as crazy, which is the attitude. And what is important to us is that our beliefs, our values, and our attitude are aligned with our highest truth. And I think it's very important to exercise, to exercise it now and again, to reassess our beliefs, our values, and our attitudes, and asking ourselves, what do we believe? What do we believe about ourselves? Are we not enough? Are we flawed in some way, or are we an amazing expression of God or the divine? If we ask ourselves right now, as we hear the word God, and I was challenged with this as well as I left traditional Christianity to come to unity, was what did I believe about God? Is he judgmental and vengeful and somebody out there? Or he is the essence, or is the essence of divine love that flows in and through in all of us? What about the way that we manifest or how we create? Is it, I am a victim of circumstances, whatever happens, happens? Or is it, I am empowered today to create my own life. We need to remember that what we truly value is what's important. Look at our behaviors and then align them with our highest good and the highest good of others. And then we must ask ourselves on a daily basis, are we truly aligned with our true self? Or are we aligned with our beliefs? And are we truly aligned with the highest values and attitude of others in their divinity? And you want to check your attitude, that it's an optimist believes the glass is half full and the pessimist believes the glass is half empty. And like many, if you watch any social media, I believe that a glass can be refilled. So it doesn't matter where you're at this point in your life. Just know that a glass, no matter where you see it, can always be refilled. So with that, we go into number 6, which is your words. The beauty and the power is in our words. Charles Fillmore in Talks on Truth says the personal consciousness is like the house with all the doors and windows barred. The doors and the windows of the mind are concrete ideas, and they swing open with the right word is spoken to them. Jesus Christ voiced a whole volume of right words. If you will take up his sayings and make them yours, they will open all doors of your mind. The light will come in, and you will in due time be able to step forth. So I will add here, what are you saying to yourself? What are the words that you're using? And what is it opening into your life? I want you to take value of that today. What are the words that we're saying? Number 7, and this is a big one. This is the most important one. I'm guilty of missing it. Action. W.H. Murray's book, The Scottish Himalayan Expedition, he writes, "But when I said that nothing has been done, I erred in one important matter. We had definitely committed ourselves, and we were halfway out of our ruts. We had put down our passage money, booked a sailing to Bombay. This may sound too simple, but is great in consequence. Until one is committed, there is a hesitancy, the chance to draw back always effectiveness concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elemental truth that the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. The moment one definitely commits themselves, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues from the decision raising in one's favor all manners of unforeseen incidences, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come in his way. I learned a deep respect for one of our Gautier couplets: whenever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it." We talk about it. Principle number 5. The truth we know is not enough. We need to act upon it. We need to accept these divine gifts we're given and know that we must act in faith. So remember that action is still part of your consciousness. Because no matter what all the other 6 did, without number 7, it means nothing. Recently, I had a talk with someone who told me how they started to doubt certain actions they took. And when they planned to return to a comfort level, part of them said no. And they moved in faith forward, not knowing. But just because they put it out in the universe, they put it out in faith, they saw a return. It could have been a small return, could have been a return, doesn't matter. But because they put that action in place, they were able to see something. Many of us in traditional Christianity pray for signs. And we wait for them. Number 8 is reactions. And I think that's important because we never think of our reaction. And it's the addition to consciousness from no one. When I speak of teaching about the power of consciousness to create our lives, I'll be speaking from the combined power of ours. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, attitudes, and actions, and our reactions. How do we react? How do we respond to life? That is where we often go unconscious. I've heard many times when people have said, I received and I prayed for something. and an idea came in my head. Well, when the idea came in my head, I started to think about it. And I started to wonder whether this is really what I'm supposed to do. And then they moved on. I always talk about Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule, where she explains that when we have something to do or something comes in that is ours to do, immediately 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get to action. Because after that, we start to create stories in our head. I've made a joke recently where I said, we treat that divine inspiration, that prosperity flow that Charles Fillmore teaches, as the bill coming in the mail. See, we get that idea and we look at it from the outside and we go, hey, there's a bill, there's this, there's that. Yeah, I don't want this, and throw it away. And then the letter that looks pretty, or the idea that looks pretty and easy, we follow. Then we wonder why we're not reaching it. You know, I make the joke because it had happened to me where I received an envelope from, we'll just say, a famous tax place. And when I looked at the envelope, like, oh, Lord, what are they charging for me now? And when I opened it, it was actually a check. And they had refunded something that a mistake was made. Now, I didn't expect it, and I was grateful for it. But what if I had judged it as a normal bill, or judged it as something I didn't want to look at right now and just threw it in a pile with the other bills? I miss out. Now, this was a check, but what if I missed out on an opportunity? What if a friend came with an opportunity when I was praying for something? Or I was putting out affirmations on receiving prosperity, but when an opportunity comes, I'm like, no, I don't even want to touch it. What if that opportunity may have been just a stepping stone to something else? Because I can tell you, I've had opportunities in my life that most people will say no to, but because I said yes, led me to something else, that led me to something else, that led me to something else, and guess what? Led me here. And I am so grateful to them, and I've told them over and over again how very simple steps or something they've introduced me to gave me steps to get there. We know the saying by Martin Luther King. It says, I don't need to see the top of the staircase to know I have to take the next step. So as we continue to talk about reactions, how do I react to things, is what is our initial response when we get a diagnosis that we may not be happy with? When we receive an auto repair bill? When we lose our job? Oh no, this is terrible. How awful. Conversely, what is our reaction when some abundant good just drops in our lap? When we are in the right place at the right time for an opportunity? When things really work out for the good of all in a sticky situation? I can't believe it. It's a miracle. I want to suggest that neither of those support our highest and best. Rather, as we move forth with a calm and open heart, knowing in confidence that we walk in good, we walk in what God's good, as we say, no matter what is going on. No matter what the perceived intentions are outside. I've always said perception is personal. It is based on the reaction, which is based on all our other values, our attitude, our beliefs, and our thoughts. But if we continue to walk through, no matter how much the challenge, knowing that we're walking in good, that we're walking with God, we're walking with whatever your spiritual belief is, that divinity within you, it could be just intuition, that when we know we're walking in faith in that will always attract and sustain good in our lives. So as always, these are just the aspects of consciousness. We throw the word consciousness around in Unity and other new thoughts, but how many of us really knew what ingredients went into our complete consciousness? And I hope you got that today. Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our attitudes, values, words, actions, and reactions, all are important. And all must be addressed. And like anything else, we always got to check ourselves. You know, it wouldn't be too much fun if we take a bath once a week and then show up somewhere. We want to take our baths daily and make sure that we're checking ourselves for the good. And we should be doing the same thing with our consciousness. I love when you listen to the Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck. And they're on their podcast, and the first thing they go, today is a wonderful day in my consciousness. And that's how they greet themselves on the podcast. Can you do the same thing every time you get up and say, today will be a wonderful day in my consciousness? Now that we have a precise understanding of what consciousness is, I want to conclude this morning's talk with the passage from Charles Fillmore Talks on Truth, where he says, when our consciousness, our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, value, words, and actions and reactions is lifted up by this wisdom word, we find ourselves masters of our powers and privilege of infinity. When we can say with Jesus, all authority has been given unto me in heaven and on earth, these are the privileges of the sons of God, and every one of us is a sons of God. So again, little paraphrasing there, wanted to put in the values again, but I truly implore you today that your consciousness will get you on that positive path to spiritual living. And when we check ourselves and make sure we're not wrecking ourselves, that we move forward in that. Let's take it into prayer. And today we center into this message knowing that we now know what makes up our consciousness, all the ingredients that are there, that we know that we are a great expression of that I am. So every I am statement that leaves my mouth is affected of not just me, but everyone in this oneness, knowing that we affect the higher selves and we encourage the higher selves to show their higher selves. Today we implore you to move forward in consciousness, knowing that you are truly a divine gift to each and every one of us. As we look and we begin to work on all those steps, we know that we walk in faith. We know that we walk in good no matter what we perceive the situation is. Because when we move our consciousness into this realm, when we know that narrow path, we know that nothing is against us and everything is for us. So today, I am one with that goodness. I am one in consciousness with all that is good. And I work on that consciousness for myself, for you. And I encourage you in this prayer to affirm that consciousness for me. But we know this work is already done and going through us because we say it isn't so, it isn't so, we let it be. And we affirm this with an Ashe, so mote be, and Amen. And as we move through this, we move into our song to remind us that today is the day we need to wake up.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, things are thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There is so much hatred, war and poverty. You have to say, 'cause they're the ones who's coming up. The world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na, 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 na. The world won't get no better. Change it.
Hey, what a song. Wake Up Everybody. Written in 1975, Teddy Pendergrass lent his vocals to it. And it's so relevant even today. It's actually been remade I don't know how many times, or actually, as they say, covered so many times because of the relevancy of even what's happening today throughout the world. Imagine waking up to the truth we know, putting into practice principle number 5, that it's not enough to know this truth, but that we must live our truth. And with that being said, imagine if everybody took that message today, and not only ourselves, but together, we put this into practice, how we can help change the world for the better. So with that being said, I invite you to join us next week as we continue our 4-part series on a positive path to spiritual living. What is it and how do we put it into practice? I hope you got a lot from today, took notes, and of course, feel free to share anything you heard that may impact yourself or others. I want to thank you for all who are watching live as well as those who are watching later. I truly appreciate your time as a gift to sharing this time with us. Make sure that you like, share, and if you want to see more of our YouTube channel and you're on our YouTube channel, just hit the bell. That'll notify you anytime we drop a new video. Also, make sure you join us on any of the other videos that you saw during the announcement period. I also encourage you to continue to practice your giving, whether it is to your spiritual community, or if you wish to help us out, under the About tab in YouTube, there is a donate link. And on our website at witheveryencounter.com, under services, spiritual community, there's also a donate button there. I was encouraged to participate. As most of you know, I love to just do these things, but we do spend a lot on video equipment and all of that. So if you wish to help, please do. But as always, you want to continue that giving and receiving that law, because as you give, it comes back tenfold for yourselves. So make sure that you're giving from the heart and genuinely know that through the practices we do, that you will receive tenfold, as always. So with that, I want to thank Alicia again for lending her talents to us, of her musical talents and all the great songs this week. I also want to make sure that you put this lesson into practice this week. And feel free to comment and let us know how it went for you as you continue to understand your consciousness. And as always, I can't let you go without reminding you that I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. I want to bid you namaste, and that you may leave here today with your heart full of love, joy, and peace as you go out and bless others. So with that, I will see you on any of our episodes, or I will see you next Sunday.